Hello, everybody. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live on this Monday afternoon. Schmeelk, Paul Dottino. It's all brought to you by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. We're in our podcast studio presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Giants fall to the Chicago Bears in a way that unfortunately is becoming a trend this year, Paul. 24-20, fourth time this year. The Giants have led by 10 points in a game and lost. 3 of them I'd put in the same category: the Bears game, the Broncos game, and the Cowboys game. I would put the Saints game. They led by 10 in the first quarter, and then that game turned. I would kind of put that into a separate category. But the bottom line here, Paul, they had a 10-point lead late in this game, and we could talk about some of the moments and other things, but I think from a larger big picture perspective, again, the defense, 2 consecutive drives at the end of the game. They give up 2 touchdowns. They blow the 10-point lead, and they end up losing the football game.
You know, John, I think, to be honest with you, this was one of those games where, and we always talk about the spider web, right? You know that I'm very big on the spider web. I look at this game and I say, yes, in the last 6.5 minutes, the defense gave up 2 lengthy touchdown drives, one really lengthy, one 91 yards, and the other one a lot shorter. And it's really easy to look on the surface and just say, yes, the defense failed after playing stellar football for 3.5 quarters. That's easy to do. I have to say that the Giants' offense, stalling at the 1-yard line early in the fourth, was a huge play because it left 4 points on the board that was totally unnecessary.
I agree.
And then after that, okay, let me just pull up here my notes that I gave myself as I was watching the game.
Well, by the way, Paul, and before you even get to the next thing, back-to-back possessions, you have the Dart fumble where you're going into the Bears red zone.
21-yard line?
He fumbled around the 22 or 21, yeah, something like that.
That's points.
So that's points right there, and that's your -1. If you don't turn it over there, you probably win the game. And by the way, on that play, I know you haven't had a chance to review the game yet because you guys got home late last night with the weather, but on that play, everyone's blocking. There's one wide receiver that does not block on the play. He goes out for a route. You know whose man hit Jaxson Dart and forced a fumble? The guy, the wide receiver, didn't block. And that was on that play that happened to be Wan'Dale Robinson. Everyone else was blocking. He ran a little bit of a quick out. Maybe there was like a passing option on that read option, zone read play that was there. I didn't see it. But again, and then of course, Dart gets hurt on that play. That to me, it was a turning point of the game to me. That fumble and injury. Because that kind of changed everything, Paul. And the sad thing is that if Dart doesn't fumble that ball, he's not reaching for it on his way down to the ground. He probably never gets hurt to begin with. So that was kind of the beginning. Anyway, go ahead. What was your next point after the possession, after that second and goal at the 1 where you couldn't get in, which again, we'll get to that, but that was also a big problem.
Well, the Giants have 3 more possessions the rest of the way, and I'm sorry to say, but they only got 1 first down, and it was on the desperation drive at the end on a Wilson scramble.
Yep.
That's it. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they had like 11 total yards on 3 possessions after they had taken a 20-10 lead.
Well, a big problem is that penalties. So on their drive after the field goal, and we could
offensive line back to back,
and we could talk about that decision too. At the time, I was actually okay with them kicking the field goal there because I wanted to make it a 2-score game, and the defense was playing really well.
Understood.
So I was okay with that.
I was not, but I understood.
But in your situation, 4th and goal at the 1. You don't make it, they're backed up. The analytics say go for it there. I was okay making it a 2-score game, but to your point, I understand why you would want to go the way. If fans want to complain about that, I'm not going to have that fight with them. I understand. The next drive, to your point, they run for 5 yards on the first play. Great. Well, then false start. Makes it a 2nd and 10. Then you have a Schlotman offensive holding penalty on a Tyrone Tracy 2-yard run. Could have been a 3rd and 3. Instead, it's 2nd and 20. By the way, both were good calls. They were legitimate calls. They were penalties.
Absolutely.
And then you run for 5 yards on 3rd and 15. You're back in your own, you're around mid. By the way, you got the ball at the Bears' 43-yard line on that drive.
Yeah.
Even if you just kick a field goal there, that might help you to an extent. I mean, you still lose by 1.
To some degree.
You're in good field position there, and you commit those 2 penalties, and it kills you. And then on the next drive,
2 sacks in 3 snaps.
Correct. And one was a cover 0 unblocked pressure that Wilson has to get the ball out and see it because there's someone that's unaccounted for on that particular play. And then on the first one, on a 1st and 10, there was a sack. They run a play action pass and no one's open. And Wilson runs into a sack. So, yeah, the offense looked inept once a Dart went out of the game. And look, me and you spoke well about Russell Wilson before the season, and I know the players did as well. But, man, he gets very antsy in that pocket, even when there's no pressure. His eyes drop, and if that first read isn't there, he gets a little panicky, even when the offensive line has these plays blocked up. And it did not look good.
Well, I will say this. He did lead them downfield on the 79-yard drive to get the field goal.
There was a lot of running on that drive as well.
There was. But he effectively was able to read the plays and move the offense and get the field goal.
Devin Singletary, by the way, saved that drive by breaking a tackle, which would have gone for a loss, and he ran for 41 yards.
Agreed. So I agree with your premise 85%. I do.
That's fair.
Because teams know, and by the way, didn't we tell you this all summer? That if teams get pressure between the tackles and up the middle in front of Russell Wilson's face, as has been the case his whole career, he's going to have trouble finding openings to look through.
And the minute he got in the game, the Bears started blitzing.
Bingo. They knew. He doesn't have the speed and the quickness to necessarily create open vision once teams start to pressure him in the front of the pocket. This was not something that was a secret. We knew this, John. We told everybody. The Giants must protect the front of the pocket if Russell Wilson is going to be effective. That's just the nature of the beast. And the Bears saw it. They knew it. When he got in the game, that's where they attacked, except for the one guy off the edge. I understand that one, unblocked. But they knew exactly what the strategy was going to be. Get in his face so he can't see. And it worked perfectly. And the Giants were helpless to do anything about it. So back to your original point, yes, the defense crumbled in the last 6 minutes. No one is going to deny that. But the offense has to take some responsibility here too.
Yeah, and by the way, so does the special teams. Because Jamie Gillen shanks a punt and give the Bears the ball in midfield. So once again, you want to talk about decision-making on 4th downs. The Giants were, by the way, 0 of 2 on 4th down conversions in the first half, so the Bears, by the way. If you want to talk about special teams letting you down, you can do that. You want to talk about the defense letting you down, you can do that. You want to talk about the offense letting you down, you can do that. So you can check all those boxes. And now, big picture-wise, and we'll get to your calls here in a second, folks. I want to go through a couple of the micro things in this game, too. Now, we don't know about Jaxson Dart for next week.
Nope.
In the modern NFL, it's very difficult to clear concussion protocol in a week. The way the rules are set up, you have to hit every single threshold as fast as humanly possible. And you're at the point, too, now where, look, Jaxson Dart has been tested for whether or not he's had a concussion 4 times now. And the 4th one, he determined he did have one. And good job by the Giants self-reporting that, by the way, once they saw that he wasn't right to send him into the tent.
Yes.
But do you want to try to bring him back in just a week either? That's another thing you have to decide. If you're the Giants, you're trying to take care of your franchise quarterback, that's the guy you hope is going to be here for a long time. So those are all things now we have to think about going forward. And by the way, Brian Dable did not commit to this last night. Is it Russell Wilson next week? Is it Jameis Winston? If Jaxson Dart can't go. So these are all things that we don't know. Brian Dable will be addressing the media at 125, by the way.
I'll get this point right out of the way. If Dart is not cleared to play, there's no doubt in my mind I'm going to Wilson. Because, Winston. I'm so foggy right now with little sleep.
I think I would too, to be honest with you.
I'm going to Jameis Winston because he is under contract for next year with a $4 million salary. You might as well see what he's got because you already have the rights to him. Russell Wilson's a free agent at the end of the year, and he's going to go somewhere else, if he even plays.
Or retire.
Correct. Right. Mm-hmm. So he's not part of 2026. So with all due respect, and I understand that he's got the better resume, and you could definitely say, well, with all his accomplishments, as we said over the summer, he gives you a better chance to win than Jameis Winston. You could make that case, but you could also make the case for practicality purposes that since he is going to be somewhere else after the season, you need to see what Jameis Winston can bring you.
If I made you guess if Dart can't play, who the starter would be, who do you think it's going to be? I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna be Wilson. He's been the backup.
I suspect it will be Wilson too, only because they've had a chance to flip the backups and they haven't done it to this point.
That's my thought too.
Which makes me think that Wilson will be the guy. I suspect, just on that evidence, Wilson will be the guy. I know I would like to at least get a look at Winston in this offense if Dart can't go.
All right, here's some things that I want to bring up as micro things. You can stop and interrupt me if you want to comment on any of these individually, Pauls. I kind of run through them here, okay? I did look this up. This was the most the Giants have played under center and the most play action the Giants have run since Jaxson Dart has become a starting quarterback. They had varying success on those plays, but I think I like that as part of the look in this game, and I think they did make some big plays on those plays, so I give them credit for that. I like they went back to 12 personnel. They led the NFL in 12 personnel usage this week with over 80% of their snaps out of 12 personnel. I like that.
You know I do.
They could not run the ball worth, you know what, in the first half of this game, the Giants. It was embarrassing. I think 5 rushes for 2 yards, if I remember properly. Second half, I thought they went to more of a downhill style run game, and I thought the offensive line did a much better job in the third quarter. Then they went back to the zone run game in the fourth quarter, and that worked too. So,
yeah, but then that's when the pass protection broke down.
Well, I mean, that's when Jaxson Dart left the game. So, all that's connected, right?
Yeah.
But the run game was much better in the second half. Tyrone Tracy looked better. Devin Singletary looked better.
Yeah.
Dart, I thought, made some of his best downfield throws I've seen this year. I really liked the one loose play that he made, because I thought he actually was much better in the pocket this game than he has been. There wasn't as many of those kind of scramble around loose plays, but the one he threw to Theo Johnson rolling to his right, where he hit Theo right on the sideline. Great toe drag as well from Theo Johnson on that play. Really like that.
One-handed catch by Slayton. How about that one?
That was a really nice play. That was a better catch than it was a throw.
Yes.
In my opinion, I thought the one over the middle to Slayton was a really good throw. It was a cover 2.
Yeah.
And he threw it right over Noah Sewell's head for a catch. I thought that was a great throw against zone.
No, I mean, the frustrating part about this, folks, and we'll let John finish this here in a second, is that this is another one of those games where good, ugly. You know, so many good things happen.
I thought the Bears' blitzes were very creative. I thought the Giants had some trouble with some of those Bears' blitzes in terms of letting guys get home. Overall, I thought the pass protection was pretty good. I thought they gave Dart time to throw. I did not have a problem with the Giants' pass protection, except for a couple of those issues on those blitzes.
Yeah,
a little bit.
And then when Wilson came in, the pressure was just overwhelming.
But again, I think when you go back and watch it, there's a couple of those where the pocket's actually okay. And it's just a little panic.
I got to review it.
No, 100%.
I haven't done it yet this morning.
Penalties at inopportune times. You had a couple Deontay Banks penalties, which, by the way, I did not like them when I looked at them on review. The one was the pass interference was okay. I thought the illegal contact was a little bit
10 overall,
soft
right?
on that. Yeah, especially
10?
in the stuff in the secondary. I did not look at the total number of penalties.
I think it was 10, which is unacceptable. That's way too many.
Giants had, 10 for 69 yards in this game. Way too many.
What did you think of call on Phillips at the end?
The one where
the shove.
Oh, yeah, it was a penalty. Absolutely.
He shoved Odunze.
Yeah, he knocked him down 15 yards down the field.
I think Odunze helped sell it.
Well, whatever. It's still foul.
It is a penalty. It is a penalty.
Still a foul.
But
yeah, that one, there were a couple of those I thought were soft. That one I thought was an easy one.
I thought it looked easier than it was because I think Odunze helped sell it.
But again, you had those penalties, which you don't like. You had 2 failed fourth downs, and I didn't like the fact that you passed on a 4th and 2 and you passed on a 4th and 1. Now, I know the Giants were running the ball well in the first half, so that's why you do it, but you did not manage to convert those, and I wonder if that also jaded Dable in terms of going for it on the 4th and goal at the 1 or not, because you had those 4th and short failures in the first half.
Could have.
Again, I don't know the answer to that. And again, if you want to complain about that, I totally get where you're coming from. Again, at the time, I wanted to get the 2-score lead because the defense was playing well. Looking back on it, you should probably go for it there. And I said, no, I'm changing my mind from the post-game show yesterday, and you can do that when you think about things a little bit more. Dart, I know people complained about this too. He only rushed the ball 6 times in this game, even though he's hurt on one of them. 5 of them were on designs, and by the way, they were very successful. These were all his runs, Paul. I tracked all 6 of them. I wrote them down. 3rd and goal at the 2, you run it untouched for a touchdown.
Yep.
3rd and 11. The same play that he got hurt on, by the way. They used that same play 3 times. It's a read option with double pullers.
Yep.
All right? That's a play that they used to run with Lamar Jackson all the time in Baltimore. It's kind of like a counter Trey type of move. 3rd and 11, 25 yards, touchdown. He scrambles on a 1st and 10. 1st and 10, zone read, double pullers, 24 yards, touchdown. 4th and 1, 1st down, play action, designed bootleg run. You get that. You convert that in a 4th and run. And then the 2nd and 6, he gets the 1st down, same play, zone read, the double puller, and he ends up getting hurt in that play. So those are the dart runs. You don't want to run design dart runs. I understand the argument. Just understand you're taking away a lot of what's made him successful as a rookie here in his first year. So
you know me. I'm an anti-runner guy, but I always say 4 runs is like right around my number,
And they had 5 design ones. So.
Right. So that's, to me, that's not being reckless. It's not.
So that's how I look at that. They had 7 passes of 15 or more yards. They had the 5th highest deep pass rate in the league. They're trying to get the ball down the field. They allowed a 42% pressure rate. It was 18th in the league this year. Dart got the ball, I think, a little bit quicker in this game. I should look at his average time to throw. I didn't look at that. That was the offensive notes. My other defensive notes, Paul, again, I'd love to get your take if you want to comment or disagree or whatever on any of these. The pressure on the Bears' first series on 4th down. Oh, Dex. On the first Bears' 4th down, where he eventually got to DJ Moore near the sideline, and he kind of couldn't come up with it. It was really nice throw by Caleb Williams. He just couldn't come up with it. If Dexter Lawrence does not get pressure on that, it's a deep post for a touchdown.
Yeah.
DJ Moore's wide open.
Oh, I know.
Wide open. So people talk about pressure.
We could see it from the box.
So people talk about pressures not mattering.
Oh, it matters.
That pressure mattered. Because if Caleb Williams has a safe pocket, he's hitting DJ Moore for an easy deep post for a touchdown.
Yep.
Defense in the first half, even the run defense was legitimately good until that last drive of the first half when DeAndre Swift got that long run to the outside. Yeah. He gained about 40 rushing yards on that, and that would have, that was more than half of what they got in the first half. Again, then it kind of fell apart a little bit later on.
I would still go the whole defense for 3.5 quarters was good.
Yeah, they did a nice job. I agree. The run defense started to get a little bit worse in the second half, but I agree with you. Yes. Bears 0 of 2 on 4th down in the first half. I thought that was good. I counted over the course of this game, Paul, and there were multiple ones on the same play, and I counted those. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different players have chances at sacks and miss them. And again, look, Caleb Williams was the first overall pick for a reason. He's a really good athlete. He's been good at sack avoidance all year. We talked about it in the pregame show on Sunday. That's one of his skills. But I will say this, Paul. If you want to be an elite pass rush, you got to get him down on some of those plays. You just have to. I know he's talented. I know he's the first overall pick. If you're going to be an elite pass rush, you have to get him down on some of those plays. You must. And again, 10-point lead, and I've said this in multiple other games.
Yep.
10-point lead and stuff like that. 10-point lead and stuff like that over the course of this game. And they were not able to get down in terms of the pass rush. So just something to keep in mind here as you move forward with what's happening.
One of the really big ones, Darius Alexander in the fourth quarter on the 91-yard touchdown drive. Darius Alexander had him probably twice, and Williams got away. And that turned into an incompletion, but it could have been a huge loss. The Bears had just cracked the 50-yard line and were on the Giants' side of the field. And then Alexander has a shot to basically tilt the field and ruin it for them. And twice during Williams' ridiculous scramble, he gets away. And Alexander can't finish him off. And even though it's only an incompleted pass, it allows them to right back at the line of scrimmage again, where on the next play, Adunze, 18-yard in cut. He beats Drew Phillips. So, I don't know. Would a sack there have helped them salt the game away? I don't know. But it certainly would have killed some of the Bears' momentum. And that one just really galled me because he had 2 chances at him, and it seemed like Williams was back there forever, just trying to do something with it. And the incompletion helped save the drive, in my opinion.
Paul, we have some news.
Yes, we do.
the Giants have, according to reports, this has not been confirmed by the team yet, have let go of Brian Dable as their head coach, and Mike Kafka will be the interim head coach.
Okay. Wow.
So, again, we'll wait for confirmation on this. That's why I was on my phone here, folks. Someone just indicated as we were talking about the show. I'm not looking on my computer. We don't have the TV on. We should have the TV on. That got indicated. But looks like there's going to be some change here. We'll see. Again, we'll wait for confirmation on this. But this is what we're looking at right now. Mike Kafka is obviously somebody that, and I understand why you would put him in this position. He's been one of the guys that have managed Jaxson Dart here, and that's one of the main, put Channel 40 on, Johnny Mac. That's one of the main, guys that have kind of managed his development here in terms of moving forward. And it looks like that's what the Giants are going to do now.
Well, the one thing I will say about this, actually, I'll say two things. If the reports turn out to be accurate, and again, we will stress again for the umpteenth time, no official comment from the Giants either way. What we do know about Mike Kafka, we know he has been downstairs, and so his relationship with Jaxson Dart throughout the course of the season in terms of helping him grow and mature has been a hands-on during the game relationship. He wasn't upstairs in the box, how many yards away upstairs looking down. No, Dart was interacting with him always during the course of games. That'll give you a better feel for where the guy is, and I'm sure it also helps Dart's comfort zone with him, knowing that he was there with him all the time, talking between every series. I think that will be something that you would feel better about. The other item is that Mike Kafka has gone on a number of interviews the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And teams have clearly, from afar, looked at him and said, this is a guy who has some potential and has some upside. So if indeed this is going to be the case, they're looking at a guy who has some capable hands, at least according to many people around the league, and also Division I. He had some Division I conversations too.
Yeah, he was also the head coach at the Shrine Bowl a couple years back as well.
Yeah.
So he does have some experience. There's no other word on anything else that might be going on in terms of changes, but that's kind of where we sit right now in terms of what the Giants are going to do here moving forward. But, Paul, this is not a decision I'm sure that ownership wanted to make. But, and look, you could talk about micro reasons that things happen, but when you look at it as an overarching theme, they just have not won enough games over the past 3 seasons. And the way they've lost games this year, with leads late in 3 of them, especially Dallas, Denver, and now, of course, this past game, that it's just a tough thing for, I think. I understand why you wouldn't want to move forward and you would want to make a change. Again, I'm not of the belief that mid-season coaching changes are going to just turn things around and make, huge differences. That's just not the way I look at it. And you rarely see that happen. You might get a, temporary boost or something like that.
Right.
But I mean, I get it. If you're just saying that the results have not been good enough and the way you've lost these games, we need a change. I understand where you're coming from on that.
Well, I will say this. The organization's philosophy from the very, very beginning of the formation of the New York Football Giants has always been to wait till after the season. I mean, that's the way they want to do business, if at all possible. It's only the 4th time in Giants history. They've been around 101 years that they have made a change with a head coach in season.
Who have been the other ones?
That would have been McAdoo.
Right, and that was special circumstances with the Eli thing.
Yeah, You remember the whole Arnsparger thing?
Not me. I don't remember that.
Well, but it's so big, the Pizarchik fumble and stuff.
I understand, yes.
That was a big deal. And then there was one way, way, way back, even before my time.
Okay.
So
there was a before your time?
Yeah, there was.
Okay.
I know it's hard to believe, but there was. So, there have been times that this has happened. So, to be frank, they will do everything they can not to make a decision like this until after the season, because as Wellington Mara always used to say, your emotions get involved if you're in season. You can't separate the emotions from the logic. So you want to wait until after the season, because then you can potentially clear the emotions out and make the most logical decision possible. we have seen, or at least I've seen in my lifetime, twice, they felt like the situation was so dramatic that they needed to do something. If this is the case today, that tells you how far they believe this situation pushed them. It's just that simple.
Yeah, look, I didn't get the sense that the locker room was lost. I felt like the guys were still playing hard. I didn't feel there were effort issues, to be honest with you. But again, we've had many Monday shows and Tuesday shows where people have called and said about this. And we have said, look, we understand the opinion. We didn't sit here vociferously argue against it. And again, according to reports, the Giants have moved on from Brian Daboll and named Mike Kafka, the interim head coach here. We're waiting for confirmation from the Giants on this decision. But, Paul, it's just moving forward now. I don't know. I'm not sure there is really a whole lot that's going to quote unquote change. I mean, Mike Kafka on the offensive side of the ball ran this offense with Brian Daboll. They put it together every week. They put the game plan together. I don't think how we're going to see some huge material change in how they're going about things, game planning and stuff like that. You just can't make those types of big changes mid-year. I mean, maybe once you get to the bye week and you have a little extra time, you can put a couple new things in, but that's 4 weeks away still. You still got games against the Packers, the Lions, and the Patriots. So we'll have to see what it is, but obviously this means then, too, you're going to have if the reports end up being accurate and the Giants confirm this, that you're going to end up having a coaching search after the year. And you're going to, and then, we had a call last week asking when are you going to start talking about potential coaching candidates next year. Well, now you can call up and ask about that if this ends up being accurate. So, and then we're going to have to go through the whole coaching process again, which is something, unfortunately, us and Giant fans have been accustomed to over the course of the last 8 years.
The only thing I caution about that is when you start putting together a list, if you are in the market to do so, you have to understand that not everybody you may want is going to be available. There are going to be a bunch of guys who you might like to speak with who are tied to certain people in certain organizations or even certain colleges that you may not be able to get your hands on. So even that conversation is kind of sketchy and maybe a little bit still premature because you just don't know about the available pool.
Yeah, and I guess then the question is, what are you going to make your priorities, right? I mean, we've been, teams swing back and forth when they make these types of decisions,
sure they do.
Right? All right, we just hired a coordinator. Well, now we want someone with experience. Right. Oh, yeah, that's now you want a coordinator.
Offensive guy, defensive guy.
Correct. So I think you have to decide what you're looking for here. Obviously, when you're trying to develop a franchise quarterback, I think you would want a stabilizing force on offense. So you're not, bringing in different coordinators. Because the thing about it, if you don't hire an offensive head coach and your offensive coordinator ends up being really good, he's going to get another job somewhere, and then you lose your offensive coordinator, train your young quarterback. So do you make that a priority? Do you make prior head coaching experience a priority? Is that important to you? Do you talk about a college, someone from the college ranks? These are all decisions that you eventually have to make when you start thinking about this decision and you go through your coaching search in the offseason.
John, I think one of the things that we all understand is that no matter what decision the Giants make, if they are moving forward, whether or not it's now or at the end of the year, they understand that they think they got their franchise QB. They think they do. If they're right, if Jaxson Dart really is good enough to be that guy, well, the last thing in the world you want to do is make the wrong selection that will derail him. Because nothing is worse than having the guy, and we've seen this now with Daniel Jones, things didn't work out here, and this was not a coaching thing. It was just a confluence of events that derailed Daniel Jones. But we know this because we've heard you folks call us, and we know what people have said outside the building. Oh, wow, look, Daniel Jones is doing great now. Boy, that really stinks. He couldn't do that here. You hate to have that guy get away because you didn't have the right circumstances or the right people to bring out the best in him. So ultimately, if the Giants do wind up naming a new head coach and he is a defensive-oriented guy, well, then that OC becomes the most important decision that you're going to make.
Yeah, and the problem you run into is that you're either going to have to find one that doesn't currently have a job, or you'll probably have to find one that you're promoting and maybe has not done the job before. Right? Because in order to pull somebody off somebody else's staff, they have to be getting a promotion. So that's a quarterback's coach or a wide receivers coach, whatever, offensive line coach, whatever type of coach you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or it's someone that had an offensive coordinator job and is currently unemployed. And then someone make the argument, well, why is he unemployed? Right? So that's why it does get awfully tricky if you don't go with the, and again, guys, we just found this out now. So we're kind of trying to figure this out and think about it at the same time you are, as we just learned of this decision.
Again, if it in fact, once we hear if there's confirmation, which we do not have.
Correct. This is just according to the reports right now. So that's something that you're going to have to figure out moving forward, how you're going to handle the offense. And Paul, what do you want the offense to look at? Do you want more of a West Coast offense? Do you want more of a, play action drop it? Do you want more of a play action Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan type of deal? Do you want a shotgun based spread offense? What are you looking for in terms of putting this offense together that you think Dart plays best in?
Here's about the only thing that I will say, and again, this is fresh, but the only thing that I will say right now off the bat, as far as the Giants offense is concerned, whether or not, it's the head coach or it's the OC, if we're going to speculate and hypothesize about this, it's got to be a guy who has at least a background in a system that is comfortable with Dart, or vice versa, that Dart is comfortable with, whether it's the Kafka-Dable system. And Mike Kafka, for all I know, if he in fact is the interim, maybe Mike Kafka winds up staying here.
Oh, by the way, he could do a great job the final, 8 games left? Or 9 games? No, 7 games. 7 games. 7 games.
10 games in. There's 10 games in, so 7 games left.
Maybe he does a great job and he ends up getting the job, which would be great. Someone that Dart's familiar with, and he ends up sticking around.
Right, and that's why I don't want to eliminate him from this conversation.
100%.
Okay? So Mike Kafka could be part of that answer. It could be anyone who is either familiar with the system at Ole Miss that Lane Kiffin implemented, because Dart obviously succeeded with that system.
Mm-hmm. You don't have many pro systems that look like that, but sure.
Right, but it could be.
Mm-hmm.
Or simply put, again, it could be Kafka, or it could be somebody who is familiar with the Dable Kafka system that they have run here, for a few years, even though Dart was only in it for 1. So there will be some tentacles that you could track if you're looking for somebody that Dart may be comfortable with. I don't think, John, here I'm again, speculation. I don't think they would want to go for a head coach or an offensive coordinator who's going to bring Jaxson Dart something entirely different. I don't think they're going to want to do that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I agree with that, Paul. All right, 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Guys, I know you can come. You can still talk about the game if you want. You can talk about this, whatever you want to talk about. We will take your calls right here on Big Blue Kickoff Live. And again, just a reminder, according to reports, the Giants have moved on from Brian Dable as their head coach, naming Mike Kafka the interim head coach. The Giants have not confirmed this, but there are many, many reports out there talking about this. So,
and by the way, just so you folks have an understanding about what's going on today, there was supposed to be a media availability with Brian Dable at about 1:25 today.
That's right.
That was a scheduled media news conference via video, which is part of the next day after a game deal. That's always what happens on Mondays. The media does not come to the facility. We're here doing the show, but the media does a video news conference with Brian Dable, usually at right around 1:30. So that was scheduled for 1:25 today. And as far as John and I knew, that was moving forward like, green light. And then we just heard about...
Paul, they were setting up the camera for the press conference when I came in here to start the show.
So I want you folks to understand that, we were not like bluffing you, this morning when we started this program. We literally were told as John was going through something that, this is what's popped up. And that's why we had no idea whatsoever that something was going down.
Exactly right. All right, let's go to Dave in Cranford. He can lead us off here. Johnny Mac on line 3. Dave, what's going on?
How you doing, John? How you doing, Paul?
What's going on, Dave? You never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, John, we've talked about it before. I don't know. Listening to this as I'm, watching this as I'm, sitting on hold for you guys. But I think just to say, man, there's people and family on the other end of all this sort of stuff. So
always
just to say that too.
No, Dave, you're right, and I'm sure there are a lot of Giant fans out there that are happy this is happening because they wanted to change, and I think it'll help the organization. But look, Dave's. I know fans don't see this side of him, but he is really a great dude. He's so much fun to interact with around here, and I'm gonna miss him just because of the type of guy that he is and the environment he created around here. But this is the business. That's the NFL. And when you don't get the results, this is kind of what happens.
It's kind of what happens. And I went into the season thinking that he had a path. And then I think I started to, unfortunately, resign myself to this. So what I was calling about, though, so, I mean, that we'll have plenty of time. We'll have months to talk about, next steps and people and all that. I think, John, you did bring up a great point that I see sometimes just out there in the Twitter universe, people suggesting that we go get, a current offensive coordinator and bring him over as our offensive coordinator. Just want to remind all those people, as John said, that's not possible, right? So if you want to go pick up an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, you're making him the head coach. So you better be comfortable with that, because you're not bringing somebody over, in a lateral move like that. So
the guy may not want to come either, Dave. He may just say, you know what, I'm happy where I am. And maybe the team that has him gives him a raise and makes him associate head coach or boosts his salary. You don't know that guy will even talk to you.
100%, Paul. But again, it's going to be a very, because of Dart, because of the legacy of who the Giants are, the interest is going to be very high, which is great. But there's not an overwhelming group of obvious candidates this year. There's just not. Maybe, things might open up and there's probably going to be other guys. There will be other people let go. Maybe there's someone that shows some interest, but what I really wanted to talk about, though, and I'll just throw this out here for your guys' comments, and that is Dart with this concussion. I really think that as much as he had a great game on Sunday. I think it's been lost in the midst of everything else going on. I mean, the fact, if you look at his EPA, both in that game, but just overall, his third down EPA is one of the best in the league. His overall EPA is, one of the tops in the league. To have our record with his EPA is just ridiculous.
I mean, his EPA per dropback is 16th in the NFL. Third down, it's better.
The third down, it's even better.
Yes, so, but again, I'd be worried about the thing about third down, though, like that stuff that sometimes is not as consistent from year to year. That can be very volatile. So I like to look at the overall number more than the third down one specifically.
On the rookie curve, he's doing really, really well.
Yes, correct.
But just to put the brakes on a little bit, I mean, like John just said, the numbers are not elite compared to some of the other elite quarterbacks in the league. All right, he's doing great on the rookie curve, and the arrow's pointing up, and maybe he will one day be one of the top 5 QBs in the league. Yeah. Maybe he will. But today, he's not quite there, okay?
And by the way, that's okay.
And that's fine.
And that's okay.
Absolutely it is.
Okay, particularly when you see all the noise going on around him. But on the concussion side, once first of all, he really shouldn't even be preparing before he's cleared. Not sure that will be the case, but he really shouldn't be. When you're in that protocol. I'm not sure how much they look at that or not, but the bottom line is, man, concussions start a time clock. You can only, meaning that once you get one, it's a lot easier to get number 2. Once you get number 2, it's a lot easier to get number 3. And for lots of different stories, I won't go into all the details, but Kevin Boss is a personal friend. When he got his big concussion, which was the famous play that he got hit in the back of the head against the Carolina Panthers, he and his wife, the team was on the road the following week, so I knew he was going to be, by himself, not traveling with the team, because he was out that game, and he and his wife came to our house for dinner. Now, grant you, this was a week later, and we're outside, and he pulls up in his car, and his wonderful, Bree, one of the nicest people you ever meet, wife, was driving the car and Kevin was in the passenger seat, which tells you everything if you're a husband and a wife. My wife doesn't drive, not with me. But anyway, and he wore a baseball cap and dark sunglasses for the whole dinner, inside and outside. This was a week later. Now, Kevin is pretty well known that, his career was cut short by concussions. He was too tall and got hit very often, in the head. But once he started that clock ticking, those concussions got to the point where the doctors basically said to him, you're going to risk, some severe damage if you get another concussion.
Dave, it's serious business. Nobody is going to minimize that.
And thank you for the call, Dave.
Business.
Appreciate it.
And I will say this. Anybody who's walked through these doors in this building, or quite even the old Giants Stadium building, will tell you the Giants medical staff, they take the utmost in care of every one of their players. Now, the concussion protocol is a league-mandated thing. So the league is going to determine when Jaxson Dart is cleared, whether it's a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however many it is. They're going to be the ones who give him the green light to now go ahead and prepare and to try to play. So as much as I would love to tell you that the Giants have him in, he's in great hands with the Giants and they're going to be able to, get him healthy again. No, the league is the one that will determine when he is healthy. Well, the Giants will do everything they can to get him healthy, to help him as a human being first before anything else. But, having that kind of discussion right now doesn't really impact anything because the league will decide when he gets the green.
Yeah. They have the system in place to make sure these guys are protected. And
it's good, by the way.
That's what you're supposed to have. And look, I think it works. Like, everyone was all afraid Tua was going to have to retire 2 years ago. Been pretty healthy for 2 years. Chris Olave had 2 concussions last year, right? I think that 3 overall in his career. He's been okay this year.
Wasn't it Jalen Phillips in college? Didn't he retire?
I don't think it was him. It wasn't for concussions, though, was it? I thought it was for his back or a knee.
He had a back and neck concussion, knee. He had a lot of stuff.
But the bottom line is that the point that these protocols are in there is to make sure these guys are taken care of. So
no one's going to cheat the protocol.
And you don't want to mess with it.
No.
You don't want to mess
Absolutely
with it.
not.
Always err on the side of caution.
And by the way, can I just say one really, really good thing before we get lost in the rest of this conversation about what's going on with the Giants? Gunnar Olszewski had a sensational play yesterday in late second quarter.
Oh, saved an interception.
Did you? Wow. Did you drop your jaw at that play? That was a great play. I saw him afterwards, and I asked him about it. I said, Gunnar, that was an incredible pass breakup in the end zone. And he laughed. He goes, you like that? I said, I thought it was incredible. But I said, wait a minute now. You played some corner with the Patriots when you came into the league. And he goes, yeah, that's right, I did.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I also played corner in college. I said, well, it's good that you did because you put those skills to good use on that play. There's a guy who made a play above the X's and the O's, John.
Yep. All right, let's go to line 2. Jesse in Long Island, Johnny Mac. Jesse, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? I don't usually call in their in season because I try not to let my emotions get the best of me because hasn't been great for the last 10 years. But I kind of have to call today after yesterday, and it's just really deflating. And I know I know it's not official yet by the Giants, but I just saw that they fired technically. As of right now, they fired Brian Dable. I know a lot of people seem to be happy about it. I'm not really happy about it because the guy can coach. He's shown that he can coach, but maybe he's just better suited as as an offensive coordinator. Just like Robert Saleh, he's a great defensive head coach. But maybe he's just not a head coach. Maybe Brian Dable is just more suited for, an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach position. And, that's okay.
Jesse, it's funny, by the way. I know people say that about Saleh. Jets did a lot better with Robert Saleh than they've done since he's left, by the way.
It's true.
They were a lot better when he was the head coach than what they've been doing since he left. But yes, I understand your point. I agree, though. I don't think Brian Dable's a bad coach. Obviously, the results have not been good enough, and that's why a move like this is made, if, again, the reports end up being true. But look, it sucks. You'd hope that he would have been here to, bring the quarterback along for a long time. But again, it's a W's and L's business, and there's been not enough W's and too many L's.
I think aside from this particular circumstance, if I may just say to you, you go to the list of guys who have been outstanding coordinators, offensively or defensively, who did not turn out well as head coaches, and that's a pretty doggone good, impressive list. There is no shame in that whatsoever. It's fine. You can make a heck of a career out of being a wonderful coordinator.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Unfortunately, it's I had really did have high hopes for Brian Daboll, especially after that 2020 season, and he was coach of the year.
Coach of the year, playoff team, overachieved. It was great.
I was hoping that was going to be a launching point, and especially this year because out of all the quarterbacks, even Cam Ward, everybody, I wanted Jaxson Dart. He was like the guy in college. If you watch his tape, he just seemed like a guy that fit New York, you know what I mean? So it's like I was happy that Joe Shaden and Brian Daboll were able to get him, in the first round. So, but now it's just kind of, now Dart is hurt, and I know it's just a concussion, but it's not just a concussion, and it's like he's been evaluated 5 times this season already?
I think 4.
So it's like 4, but whatever, it's still serious. The last thing you need is any kind of like long-term effects from these concussions that he gets. So I don't know. I really don't know where we go from here. I know Kafka would be technically interim. I don't know at this point what the outlook on the season is. Hopefully Dart comes back, and he's okay, and kind of just let him develop for the rest of the season. But to me, this is a kind of a lost season, unfortunately. So I don't know. And again, I don't know what's going to happen this offseason, whether they're going to make wholesale changes or, they're going to, make some minute ones, but I guess we're going to find out. So,
thank you, Jesse.
I had a lot more I wanted to say, but, with this news that just came out, I'll save it for another day. So, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good
All right. Be well.
Call back another day, Jesse. I'd love to have you
John,
make the rest of your
one
point.
thing to know, and I want to make this clear. Yes, Dart's had a number of examinations in the tent, but remember something. That's not the same as saying he had 4 concussions.
No, correct, yes.
It just means because of the protocol that the NFL has in place, they're being ultra cautious. Anytime somebody sees something that they say, well, could be, we want to check on it. So please don't look at that at the same as you look at Tua, who has been technically
100%.
Diagnosed
but
with
I
a
think,
whole bunch of them. Just be careful. It's not the same thing.
Agreed, but I will say this. Given how many times he's been evaluated because he has been hit in the head, after you get the initial concussion, you then want to be extra careful given what his play style is.
Totally extra careful.
All right, let's go to Lou in Virginia. Lou, you're up next.
How's it going, guys? Hey, look, it has been confirmed that he has been let go, unfortunately. I kind of wanted him to work along with Dart to bring him on further, but I really called to say our ability to be able to unable to stop people in the fourth quarter is ridiculous, and he's got to go as well, man. I don't think if Brian goes, he should just go alone, because we cannot make adjustments defensively to save our lives. It's crazy that they get beat on the same play consistently over and over again. I'm sorry for Daboll. I hope Dart's okay, but I'll listen to the rest off the air. Thanks, guys.
No, I appreciate it. And I know there has been no confirmation yet as far as I can
No, we're
tell.
checking emails, text messages. No, we have. There is no comment from the Giants that either you or I have seen so far.
Yeah, no, 100%. So let's go to Len in Columbia, Maryland. He's up next. Len, by the way, I will just say this too. It's not the same play that kills the defense every time. It's that, and they did a bunch. They played man, they played zone, they blitzed, they didn't blitz. They did a bunch of different things on those last 2 drives, and just they didn't make. I mean, I can go through some of the individual plays. They got caught inside on one of the Williams scrambles. Different things went wrong on different parts of those 2 drives.
And again, by the way, the spider web. Remember, special teams with the bad punt, the offense which failed to build on the lead. All of these things contribute to a collapse at the end of a game. It's often not just one thing.
Len, what's going on?
Well, in terms of the timing of this, wow. I didn't see this coming today. I thought maybe he'd even get to the end of the season, working with Dart and so forth. But, well, it was probably inevitable. One of the things that surprised me about the timing of this is, I was going to call up and talk about the effort put forth yesterday. I thought the guys played their hearts out. I know it didn't turn out the way we wanted it, but geez, the team was playing hard. I just got that feeling, and it just didn't go their way. And the fourth quarters have been awful. And while you can blame, the defensive coordinator, as the previous caller was saying, and I think he's probably going to be gone when the season's over. Brian did have responsibility for the defense too. Proving the game plan, if things weren't going right during the game to make changes. So it's probably a combination of things, but I'm surprised, and I'm sorry it didn't work out for him for, at least till the end of the year. Kafka's job, as you said, it doesn't change much. It's the same thing. Put your best healthy players out on the field and try to win a game. And it'll determine what your future is, Mike, We got to find out who we can win with and who are guys who are not going to contribute. The bad season, last word, and I know other people want to get on. I know I'm the original pessimist, a year away from being a year away. I said that in January.
You did.
But I thought the plan was a good one. I thought it was a real good one. Bring in the bridge, get a quarterback. And so, I better that. And let's just see if we can win some games. I think Kafka's a good man. And listen, he was mic'd up before was it the Senior Bowl this year?
Yes.
Yeah, he was mic'd up before the Senior Bowl, and at the start of the game, and to get these 33 kids, ready on his side of the field, I thought he sounded, just big time. And let me say one more thing. I know you guys have a lot to do, and it just got escalated. But sometime when you get a chance, Google Freeman's post-game press conference after the Navy win, and ask yourself if you want him in your top 5.
Okay.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Let's go, Giants.
Thanks, Lane.
And I'm not so sure if it's a happy day. I see it as a little bit of a sad day, and I'm sorry it turned out this way.
It always is.
But
Thank you, Lane.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
He just said, he would be optimistic if Kafka is the interim in terms of how he handles the team. If he does Shea Tierney, the quarterback's coach, become the OC, or does Mike do both?
It's a good question. And there are a couple other reports. Diana Rossini reported that there no other changes are expected, by the way, whatever that's worth. I don't know.
Now Mike comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree.
Mike Groh's also someone that's had a lot of experience. He's someone that's a little bit been in this longer a little bit than Shea has. That's someone that you can consider being an OC too. That's another guy I think I would throw the name in the hat.
I don't think they would officially necessarily make a title change for an OC in an interim basis. But again, that doesn't mean that Mike is always going to call the plays.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm trying to remember. Maybe you probably have a better memory than me. I had kids at this point. My memory's shot. When they made Spags the interim, did they name a full DC under him?
No.
I didn't think so either.
So I just, that to me is kind of another question because, the one thing about Kafka, the advantage of having him be the interim guy is that it helps Dart. But now, how much does it help Dart if he's just coaching and not OCing?
Yeah.
But then again, if he's OCing, is Kafka that too much?
Is he calling the plays?
Right.
I don't know. This happened with the Bears last year. If you remember, they fired Eberflus and Thomas Brown, I believe.
Yeah, I think that was his name, right? Thomas Brown. It was a common name.
And
I don't remember, but I think
he was their offensive coordinator and was doing a pretty good job bringing Caleb Williams along. They made him the interim head coach,
right?
And he couldn't handle doing both jobs.
It fell apart.
Which, by the way, it's really hard to do.
Oh, understandable.
Correct. It's not his fault. So that's a good question. Does Kafka keep calling plays as the interim head coach?
I honestly don't know.
I would think yes.
I think probably yes.
But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't.
I do know this. Shea Tierney also does have a great relationship with Jaxson.
Yeah, he does.
Which is definitely helpful.
Yeah, so we'll see how they handle the play calling part of this. We did not talk about that. That's actually a good question. I don't know what they're going to do with that.
It becomes the next level of questions after the first one.
And we don't know when we're going to hear from Mike Kafka, so we'll have to kind of wait and see on that.
Yeah, we have nothing in terms of an advisory. And
they haven't even confirmed that this is happening yet. So there's nothing out there yet. So
in fact, there is no link to the video presser that was supposed to start a minute ago.
Well, no. And obviously they have not confirmed that this move has been made yet.
No.
Giants. So this is all just according to reports still, folks. Let's go to Al in Minnesota. He's up next. Hi, Al.
Hi, how are you doing, guys?
What's up?
Hello.
Well, one thing I'm wanting to talk about briefly, I do have some concerns about the extent of Dart's concussion. The way Dable announced it in the post-game conference, he acted like the guy was seriously injured. I'm worried also that he didn't have any interview, any media appearance after the game.
Oh, he's not allowed.
Yeah, Al.
As a neurologist,
No, Al, whenever anybody has a concussion during the game, they never talk after the game. It's not allowed.
In fact, when someone goes into concussion protocol during a game, he doesn't get to talk to the media until he's out of it.
That's correct.
Which means during the week, Jaxson Dart is not allowed to talk to the media.
Now, he was in the locker room, right, changing in his locker room?
He was in the locker room changing his clothes. That's true, but you can't talk to him. Protocol means media silence. That's it. So don't read into that. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Appreciate the call. Just word from media, there will be no media availability today. There will be a press release coming out in a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. But again, the Giants waiting to confirm all the reports out there that they have moved on from Brian Dable as their head coach. And Paul, I'll just end with this. And a couple callers brought this up, and callers have done a great job today. It's a sad day. Look, every time you hire a head coach, you hope that head coach is here as long as Tom Coughlin was here, as long as Bill Parcells was here, and they guide you into that next, era of success for your franchise. Now,
Sure.
Since Tom Coughlin has left, they've tried it with Ben McAdoo, Pat Shurmur, Joe Judge, and now Brian Dable, and with the Steve Spagnuolo interim kind of mixed in there too. And again, if the reports end up being correct, that did not work again. And it's disappointing. And some of that has to do with the coaches. Some of that has to do with the players not being good enough for those particular coaches along the way. Coaches can't win without good players. That's just the way it works in this league. So you hope that this organization now, whether it's Mike Kafka or somebody else, finds their next full-time head coach, that you find the right guy and you get with the right team and the right players to make this thing successful long-term. Because it's just been, again, it's not on Brian Dable. He's only been there for 3.5 years. What happened before that has nothing to do with him. But you hope that you can find a way to have some type of sustained success, which there has not been here since Tom Coughlin was the head coach.
No. And I think the one thing that the Giants, if in fact this news does become official shortly, the one thing that hopefully they will be able to communicate to whoever the candidates are is that they do believe, and I still believe it myself.
And by the way, there does technically have to be a coaching search because you have the Rooney Rule and things like that. So
yes.
Whether or not they want Mike Kafka back as the full-time head coach, there has to be a head coaching search after
that is
the
correct.
Year. Just so people understand that part of it.
But my point was this.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
No. My point was this. I want you folks to understand something out there, and I think, John, you will second this. Maybe you won't, but I think you will. We know the roster that was built going into training camp and the one that they took into opening day. I still believe this is a better roster than the Giants have had in the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, and I think it's a better roster than the record would indicate as well, which, again, is probably one of the reasons why this happened.
They've underachieved.
Right.
I'm sorry, but they've underachieved. Whatever the reasons are, they have.
And by the way, in past years, we've sat here and said, look, guys, the roster wasn't good enough to win games. We've had that conversation here.
This roster is good enough to win games in the middleweight division for sure.
That is correct.
And should be a lot more competitive against the bigger boys.
That's correct.
Okay. So that there, besides the hope that whoever they decide to talk to, and again, it could still be Mike Kafka. I'm sure he'll be a candidate. That is the linchpin that you're going to be hoping for, is that a candidate sees Jaxson Dart, a candidate sees the 53-man roster and says, you know what? I agree with you. The Giants underachieved. I think this is a better team than what they've shown, and I think I can get them where they got to be. That's what you want. You want those candidates to believe that this is a good enough roster to take and mold and immediately get them into a better position. You don't want the candidate coming here thinking, this team is in serious, serious trouble. They're dearth of talent, and it's a 3 or 4 year rebuild, because that would scare a candidate off, I would think, John. You may not agree, but I think that would be scary. I think looking at this team, they probably will say, all right, it's not going to be a 3 to 4 year totally blow it up rebuild.
No, you don't think so, because the cap situation's pretty good going forward. It's not like you got to tear this thing down before you build it back up again. The cap long-term is in pretty good shape. You have a young quarterback on a rookie contract you feel good about. You have an Abdul Carter on a rookie contract on defense. You have other guys up front that are very talented or Pro Bowl and All-Pro level players, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, guys like that. And yeah, you would think the job is pretty attractive. It's not going in, I hope we can find a guy. And again, we'll see what Jaxson Dart does the rest of the year. Maybe attitudes change on him in the final 7 games. I don't know what that's going to look like. Nobody does. But I think you would hope the job is an attractive one. They can get a really good candidate in here. Whoever that, maybe it's Mike Kafka again, maybe it's somebody else.
Right.
That you can, find someone to guide this team going forward. Well, folks, that was something. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. Things happen fast in the National Football League, everybody. And thanks for hanging with us. We appreciate it. For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. That's Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants, from the Hackensack Marina Hill podcast studio. Keep getting better. We'll see you tomorrow at 12:30. Myself and Howard Cross will be with you talking Giants football. So we'll see you then.